30 years Mick Dobson has cleaned the streets of Newcastle. For how much longer, he's not sure. Some reports say sweeping spending cuts over the next 4 years could see more than 10% of public sector jobs go.
The country's in a mess and we all have to take partly responsibility. And to be honest with you, there's a general feeling of unfairness, is that the public sector is being blamed for the mess that we find ourselves in. Yet it's the private sector, in particular the banks, who have put us here.
The banks will pay their part with a special levy. Yet, as David Cameron has already said, it's the public sector, with its deficit-sized wage bill of £160 billion a year, that will bear the budget's brunt.
When Prime Minister David Cameron highlighted the northeast of England as a region where the state has got too big, he sent a collective shudder through Newcastle. More than 1 in 3 people here are employed by the public sector. Cutting state spending for this city will inevitably mean cutting jobs.
The largesse the last government lavished on Newcastle is everywhere, from the £22 million Millennium Bridge to the £24 million library. The city's top civil servant says businesses will have to take up the slack.
The problem in the northeast is that the private sector is too small, not that the public sector is being too big. But of course the implication is that if public spending, particularly in capital projects, reduces, we will end up with fewer jobs. That is unavoidable.
Mass job cuts could cause social unrest. With the mines closed and shipyards gone, the public sector has filled the gap. Investments like this under-construction wind turbine factory will help, but the 500 jobs it'll create will be a drop in the ocean compared with public sector posts lost. Local businesses here anyway face some major challenges.
We're obviously concerned that the consumer and spending power that public sector workers represent might be under threat, but also substantial cuts to public sector budgets might mean that ultimately private sector businesses are affected who are part of that public supply chain.
So anxious but calm in Newcastle ahead of the budget. But if the cuts to jobs, pay and pensions are too harsh, warns Mick, it could be seen as a declaration of war on workers. Elliott, Gotkine, Bloomberg News, Newcastle.